My baby is back. Oh joy, oh joy, oh joy. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and welcome to my weekly vlog for Monday, May the 18th, 2020, or as I like to call it, my 68th day of isolation, and it's vlog number 168. So, what's been going on? Well, this is me. It's not Grizzly Adams, okay? My hair's a mess, although I'm kind of happy with the beard so far. Definitely Santa Claus. We'll see if it comes in a little fuller. Tomorrow will mark 2 weeks of growth, and that's kind of amazing, I find, because in all of my life I have never had a beard. I've never had facial hair as such. I've always been very clean shaven. So this is something a little different. I don't know how long I will keep it. I'm kind of liking it though, and Walter's growing one too, so we're both going to look like North Woodsmen before this COVID thing is over with. But anyways, hey, it's a good time to experiment with this kind of thing, isn't it? So, you saw in my teaser that I got back my sewing machine. Yeah, there's a story with this. A story that right now is not making me very happy. In fact, it's really depressing me quite a bit. And I'm going to say more about that a little bit further on in the vlog today when it comes to what's pissing me off. But before we get into that, let's talk about some projects. So behind me, you have seen this one before, but now it is completely done. It's all quilted, layered and quilted, and it's called the Flying Geese, Geese Galore quilt. I did this one in a class, and I have shown you this top before, but now you can see, especially if you look at the borders, how well it's showing up, I'm not sure. I have quilted it. Now, because my sewing machine was down, I quilted this on my new sewing machine, my Janome S7, which is not an embroidery machine. But it's a decent sewing machine, and I thought I would purchase it, and I talked all about it last week because my other one was down and getting repaired. So I decided to go ahead and put it through its paces, and I did a simple what's called walking foot quilting design, which is just a wavy line done with a walking foot, sort of a straight line kind of a thing. But it looks okay, and it works with this pattern well, I think. Now, in a few moments, again, I'm alluding back to what I'm going to be talking about with being pissed off. I may be doing a lot more walking foot quilting on my other UFOs, my unfinished objects that need to be quilted. This is the back, and this is what we call a pieced back. I had strips of fabric left over. How do I do this? I'm trying to not get tangled up in my microphone cord. Okay, I'll go to this side. Kind of hard to hold it up here and show you, but that you get the idea that I did that on the back and white on either side. And yeah, I think it turned out quite kind of nice. Not kind of nice. I think it turned out very nice. Yes, that's what I think. And I'm very proud of it, actually. And it's a good size throw as well. Just kind of pick up my cord here so I don't trip over it. So that's all done, and I'm very pleased with it. And now I have about 6 other ones that I need to quilt at some point in time. We'll see how that goes. Okay, the other thing I experimented with last week, and I have done a video about this, and I've put a link to this video for this process, is painted fabric. So I made my own fabric. And this is what the final end result looks like. Now, it's not a huge piece of fabric. I was experimenting with fabric paints and stencils and some rubber stamps, and basically I did this, or approached this in the same way I would approach a mixed media page or an art journal page, and it turned out pretty good. What am I going to do with it? Well, in the video I talked about several things you can do with this. Scan it and create your own paper. Scan it and print it on other fabrics so you don't have to redo it again. And all of those kind of things are in that video, which is listed below. It's the video called Create Your, what do I call it? Painted Fabric. I'm just taking a look here and realized in my notes, oh yeah, there it is, there it is. My mind today is all over the place. Painted Fabric, and there's a link, as I've said now 4 times, in my show notes below if you're interested in this process. It's kind of fun to do. It's something a little different, and you don't need to be a quilter to make painted fabric. Basically, you probably have most of the supplies in your stash already, and I talk about what you can use for that. And you know, you can use this in other projects as well, even if you don't sew. I mean, it'd be great as a background in a mixed media page, or art journal page, ATCs, card backings, all kinds of things you can do with it. So it's just another medium to play with, sort of a crossover between quilting and paper crafting. Okay, so what's next? Let's talk about this I'm really happy with. Okay, about a year ago, I went to a quilt store somewhere north of us, and I saw this pattern for a bag. Now they had the actual bag, it's a travel bag, they had it on display, and I thought it would look really cool. So I bought the pattern, and I came home and I organized my fabrics for it, did some initial cutting, and then put it in a plastic box and left it for the last year, a little over a year, because it sounded intimidating when I started to read the instructions. Well, the other day I decided, okay, I'm going to do this, and I did. And you want to know something? It wasn't quite as intimidating as I thought it would be. And so here's the final product, which I said I'm very proud of. So you see it's got the short handles, but it also has an adjustable shoulder strap as well. So you put it over your shoulder and away you go. It's kind of hard to get this in the video, but you get the idea. Not only that, but you've got a zippered top. I probably hit the microphone a few times. There's a zippered top. The bag is all lined inside as well, which gives it a very professional finished look. What am I saying? It is professional. It has 2 pockets on the front, and it has these little pieces of hardware, the little toggles, I'm not sure what you call it, but here you go, 1 pocket right in here, all lined, all finished very nicely. The second pocket, and those clips go right over. These at first, when I was reading the instructions, seemed a little intimidating as well, but actually not that hard. And on the back is another zippered pocket that goes into the interior, and it is all lined as well. And you know, sometimes zippers, and I'm one of those people, kind of throw you off, like, but you know, zippers aren't that difficult. And this has an extra detail. It has this little luggage handle, I guess, so you can hold it like this as well. That was in the instructions. So I'm really, really thrilled with how this turned out, because, and it's got tabs for the swivel hooks, the whole bit. The reason I'm thrilled with it, you can tell I'm thrilled with it, is because it came out so professional. I think it's the first bag I've made where I don't have any mistakes in it. Now, having said that, when it came to doing these box corners, okay, you have here, I did get a little screwed up on those. However, I was able to catch myself on that screwed up. There was a little bit of cursing and swearing at that point, but I figured out my mistake. I undid what I had done, which didn't take that long, and I did it right. And the one thing about the instructions for this, and this is called Road Trip Bag, and it's by a company called So Many Creations. And I think their website is somanycreationsny.com. They're an American company. They have a lot of bag patterns. But what impressed me about this company, their pattern instructions were they were really easy to follow, well illustrated, well explained. And you know something I have found in the world of patterns for quilts and bags and things, there are good patterns and there are bad patterns. And it all has to do with the time and effort the person who put the instructions together put into it. Because this was explained so that anybody who did not have a lot of experience in making bags could come up with this. So yeah, I might make another one as well. Be good for gifts, really. Or it'd be good to give it as a gift with a quilt inside. Yeah, I'm always thinking about that kind of thing. Will I get to it? I don't know. But I loved it. And it was kind of fun to make too, as well. Now, are they cheap to make? Well, it depends on how much you spend on your fabric, and And there's a lot of other things like the hardware, all those little clips and the swivels and the buckles and things, those add up. There's probably $30, maybe $25 to $30 of hardware on that bag. Then you add your fabric on it, and it takes a fair amount of fabric. So you're probably talking another $50 in fabric. And then there's stuff that goes in the linings and that to keep it stiff, interfacing and things like that. So you're talking probably another $20, $25 on interfacing. So when you throw in the price of the pattern, which is probably the cheapest part of the whole thing, I think the patterns run about $10 American from this company. However, I think I probably paid about $14 or $15 for it, maybe even more. So yeah, to make that bag, just in materials alone, is probably going to cost you about $100. Okay, but you know, you made it, and yeah, so there you go. I think a lot of people think that if something is made by hand, that it's going to be cheap. I've talked about this before sometime along the way, especially in quilt making. But you know, you don't make them because they're cheap. At least I don't. You make them because, one, I learned something by making that. Two, it's a bit of a challenge, which is part of the learning process. And three, I can say I made it. I didn't buy it at Walmart, okay, or something like that. Okay, so that's what I've been up to in the last week. I'm going to insert, though, a short little clip that I have about the painted fabric. Or am I? No, I'm not. I'm all mixed up today. That was my original purpose, to put in a little clip, but that's because I thought I was going to use this and I wouldn't have had it here to sit, but I've already shown it to you, and then the whole process is in the show notes below. Okay, can we get back on track? Yes. YouTube channel of the week. Neat title, Atomic Shrimp. This week's YouTube channel is called Atomic Shrimp. Now, if that name doesn't get you, the content will. This is a very eclectic site where the person who created this, who's from the UK, does all kinds of weird things with food and with nature and with experiments, and you name it, he's done it. One of the favorite segments on this channel is Stuff in a Can, where he actually takes foods that you would not think would come in a can and samples them. Some of them are really kind of gross, but very entertaining. He also tries different cooking experiments as well as a whole variety of other things. So if you want something that's a little bit different, something that's a little quirky, something that's very entertaining and educational, then check out Atomic Shrimp. So Atomic Shrimp is in the show notes below, the link to it, as is the book of the week and Stephen and Walter Live. And this week we kind of, our topic for the week was to talk about the cost of COVID, which really means what it's going to cost us financially, both on personal level and in the community level, once we get out of this thing. But we talked about a lot of other things as well, as we often do, and that's fine, because that's what Stephen and Walter Live is all about. I may go in with an idea for a topic, but usually we get off topic and talk about other things, and I think that's what makes it interesting. So if you want to check out what we're talking about, and you've never been to Stephen and Walter Live before, then go to the show links below. We've actually had some new subscribers in the last few weeks coming on there, and a few new people entering into the chat mode as well, which is great. So welcome to all the new subscribers to Stephen and Walter Live. Okay, so that takes me to what's pissing me off, and I'm going to try and not get upset when I talk about this. I am upset about this. Well, let me tell you why. So in the teaser, you saw that I got back my major sewing machine, the one that does the embroidery as well as sew, my $14,000 Janome 15,000 machine and everything. And I was thrilled. I got it back. It cost me about $205 for the repairs, and I had it tuned up and cleaned and everything like that. That's fine and dandy. These machines are an investment, and you need to keep reinvesting in them to keep them running well. So I get it home, and I go to try to do some embroidery. Right off the bat, not even just after the needle went into the fabric, came out, thread break. Okay, fine. Rethread the machine. Start again, thread break. Rethread the machine, thread break. I'm getting annoyed. So I start thinking, okay, maybe it has to do with my thread. Change the thread, thread break. Then I decided, okay, there could be a problem with the needle. Put in a brand new needle, thread break. I check the bobbin case because that can be a problem. And what it's also doing is starting to pull the bobbin case up and out of its holder, which is not good. Okay, that causes you a lot of major problems. Of course, in the process of all this, and I'm giving you the short rendition of this, I broke a needle. It scarred my brand new bobbin case that was in there. I put in another brand new bobbin case. Same thing happened again. I tried every trick in the book. I checked the threading it. I got out my manual, and although I have threaded that machine hundreds of times, I decided I would be like a brand new newbie and I'd go through it step by step. And I did, and it still had problems. So I thought maybe it has to do with the pattern I'm using. I switched out embroidery patterns, tried a different one that I have used in the past that I've had success with, put it in. Nope, not cooperating at all. I am pissed, really pissed. And you know what came out of my mouth? And if there had been an open window very close, that $14,000 machine would have found itself out in a ditch somewhere. But I calmed down. So I decided, I guess I better write an email to my quilt store person who is an official Janome dealer who I bought the machine from, who did all my fixing up of the machine through her service people and whatnot, and let her know what is happening. Now, I wrote this yesterday on Sunday. Now, let me say from the beginning, this is not her fault. She doesn't make the machines, and she herself personally does not fix the machines. So, my email was not directed at putting my anger on her. My anger is with the company Janome. Okay, and possibly the service person who supposedly fixed my machine. I explained in very much in detail what my problem was and what I had done to troubleshoot. And I also look after my machines. Okay, I clean and oil my machines regularly, and of course she knows that, but I did reinforce that point in my email to her. You know, I say that because sewing machines are very sensitive to lint and they need to be oiled regularly. There are so many things with a sewing machine that if one little piece in the whole cycle of what they do is not right, it can throw the whole thing off. I know this, okay? So I keep my machine absolutely pristine all the time because after all, I invested a lot of money into it, right? So you want to keep it running. And yes, I am a power user. I use that machine every day, and probably on average, I use it for 6 to 8 hours every day. How do you think I get all these done? And I do love to do embroidery, machine embroidery. So it's been killing me that for the last month, I've not been able to do any machine embroidery. So this is also compounded to my feelings right now about this whole situation. So as I've said, I've written a very detailed email to my service person, my salesperson, okay? I'm not saying her name on here, okay? Just, you know, to protect your privacy and that kind of thing. But anyways, I haven't heard back from her yet, but I mean, I just sent it yesterday afternoon, basically, early afternoon, and I don't expect to hear anything from her for maybe a day or two yet. Now, she is infamous for not getting to her emails either, and that does annoy me, but I'm trying to see beyond that. And, you know, I don't want to attack her because this is not her fault, okay? So I did some research online about people having problems with their Janomes and with the bobbins and the whole thing, and specifically. Oh, wow, yeah. Janome, on their American website, I think it was American or their Canadian, doesn't matter, one of their sites, they have a complete forum where people discuss problems they're having with their Janome and they're asking for help. Janome never answers them. Janome ignores them completely. And you can hear the frustration in their emails. Other people get in on the forum who also own similar machines or whatever and had similar problems, and they try to troubleshoot with that person. But that's not their job. That's Janome's job, to stand behind their product. Now somebody may say, well, what's the warranty like on a Janome? 1 year. 1 year. I've had that machine for 2. Okay? That's ludicrous. That tells you something right there about how dependable they think their machines are if they give a 1 year warranty. Okay? Second of all, they're not speaking to their customers. And this goes back to something I was pissed off back a few weeks ago, talking about companies, whether they make it or break it during this COVID time, and how they treat their customer base. Janome doesn't give a crap about their clientele. All they want's the goddamn money. Pardon my French. Okay? That's all they're interested in. Now, are they a good machine? Well, I thought so. I mean, I have 5 Janome machines. And this is the only one out of those machines that's given me any problems, which is beginning to make me think, did I buy a lemon? Because I know other people that own the machine and they don't seem to have any problem with it. The owner of the store, whose name I will not speak of, she has one in the store and it's used in the store. I don't think it gets quite the workout mine does, but it doesn't matter how much you use it. They're meant to be used, right? Not abused, but used. And as I said, I don't abuse my machine. So, Janome, what's with them? Really? It's almost driving me to start looking into investing in a Berdina. Everybody just that I know that has a Berdina just loves them. But the problem with a Berdina is you've got to find a dealer. And you need somebody local when you need your machine serviced. And you will need your machine serviced. Anybody who buys one of these kind of machines and thinks it never needs some sort of servicing, like at least a cleaning once a year, like a thorough deep cleaning, is nuts. You do. Now there is a person in a town next door to me that does deal with Berdinas. But they're expensive machines too. Well, all these machines are expensive. But I'm really ticked because I like the store that I'm dealing with, the shop I'm dealing with. I like the person I'm dealing with. So I am hoping, I've left the ball in her court to see what she can come up with an idea. Now later today, after I'm finished doing this vlog and that, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do some more playing around with my machine just to see if I can get it to embroider. But I shouldn't have to do that. It should work the way it's supposed to work. I shouldn't have to jerry-rig something up or do a hack, okay? I shouldn't have to do that. So, yeah, I'm really ticked off about it, but in the big scale of things, it goes back to what I've been saying several times over the last few weeks during this time of isolation and with this whole virus thing, that if companies don't treat their client base well, we will remember. And this is what's with Janome. They're so big, I'm so small, they don't care. But I will fight. I will fight. Bottom line is, I want my machine fixed properly, and I don't want to have this problem with it anymore. That's the bottom line. And so that's what's pissing me off this week, majorly. Also, not to mention, which I did put in the email, how much money in the last 2 years I've spent on machines alone. I could have bought a brand new car, and not a cheap car. Okay? And I just dropped another $2,000 on a machine, and I've already got on order a $1,000 program as well. Ironically, that program is to go with the embroidery part of my machine I've just been talking about. Am I throwing money down a sewage pipe? I don't know. Right now, I'm beginning to feel that way. To be honest, this has me so uptight right now, I almost want to stop sewing and stop quilt making. Almost, almost, but get a grip. Okay, so that's what's pissing me off this week. Stay tuned, see how this works its way out. Okay, so product review. I got some more fabric. Yeah, I may not have anything to sew it on, but I got some more fabric. Okay, this is from one of my local quilt stores that has an online presence. It took them a while to get it to me because they went through Canada Post, or as somebody told me yesterday on Stephen Walter Live, it's a Canadian. They called it, what they call it, Canada Post and Storage, or something like that, or Park and Store, something like that. Because yeah, our mail system here really sucks. It's simple as that. I mean, for an example, this is just a little aside. Walter ordered from the same store that I ordered the fabrics I'm about to show you. He ordered it, first of last week or something like that. They got it shipped out by Canada Post. His went to Mississauga, not to Oshawa. Mississauga is on the far west side of Toronto. It's a good hour or more away from us. The reason it went there, and this has happened to us before, is that our street address, or the name of our street, not the actual number of our house, but the name of our street, there's one in this other town. It has a totally different postal code, and the house number is totally different. In fact, our house number is 4 digits. They only go up about 3 digits. So the moron who's looking at this they just see the street name and go, oh yeah, that's in Mississauga, I'll take it there. Yeah, okay. So it just goes to prove that to be a post person in Canada, you have to have 3/4 of your brain gone before they'll accept you. I'm sorry if you're a postal worker in my country, but you're stupid. Learn to read is all I can say. God, government agencies. Anyways, let's get back to the fabric. So I bought some fabric. This is kind of cool. I only got 1 meter of it because I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it. But I like butterflies, as you know, and it's got the colors I like, blues, purples, that kind of thing. So now I found out that Walter actually has complementary pieces in his stash upstairs to this. I think it could make a really nice bag. There may not be enough. Well, with what he's got upstairs and some of the things I've got, I might be able to make a quilt out of it, but we'll see. Then I like Northcott Fabrics. I think this is Northcott. Yeah, it is. This is a Northcott. They're a Canadian company, and I really love their fabrics, and I love their line, this line that they have. I think it's called, what's it called? I'm looking at the selvage to see. It is called, I don't know what it's called. Oh, this is Solstice. Yeah, Solstice. I have quite a bit of Solstice. In fact, I was just thinking to myself this morning, I've got this quilt that's made with all this kind of fabric in different colors that I started some time ago. Well, I organized the fabrics for it, and it's in my box. I should get it out and start doing the cutting and sewing of it. Yeah, once I figure out how my other machine is working. So, this is nice. This is also from Northcott, but it's another line called Canvas, which I really like. What I like about these is they're kind of like blenders. They have sort of a mottled pattern. The colors are nice, but they'll go, like if you've got a lot of prints or something in whatever you're making, these are really nice for the balance. Now, I've had this fabric before, and I really like it, so I bought some more. It's a line called Shimmers. And I think it's by Northcott. It is. It's also by Northcott. I love Northcott Fabrics. Can you tell? So this is really nice, and it does have a bit of a glitter to it. And this is in the same line. 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 So you can see here, the majority of the fabrics I bought from them were all this shimmer line. And Walter really likes this stuff too, but I got most of it, what they had left. But yeah, so I'm stockpiling my fabric. All right. It's part of my stash. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I'm sure I'll find something to do with it. Okay, so that's all I've bought this week, but I have some more things. I have another batch of fabrics. They're a little unusual, from a place out in BC, and I've been watching you know, the updates on my phone as to the tracking, Canada Post again. One thing about the company out in BC, they did said it would take probably 5 to 13 days to get the fabric order. So they warn you beforehand. And of course they have to warn you because that's Canada Post. So I have a little app on my phone right here to track Canada Post. And let's see. Delivery status. Item departed. Item departed from Richmond, BC on May the 16th. What's that, 2 days ago? At 2:32 a.m. Expected delivery, unavailable. And yeah, so that's all I know as of this moment in time that it has left Richmond, BC. So it's got like 3/4 of a country to travel across to get to me. So not holding my breath that I'm going to see it until probably sometime next week, because it's probably on the mule train, you know, because that's how Canada Post delivers things. They're so stupid. Okay, so what else? Okay, book review. So hand painted fabric. Here's a book about that called Create Your Own Hand Printed Cloth. Now, I'm going to be honest. I have 2 books about hand painted fabrics. I've skimmed them. I have never read them from cover to cover. I look through, I see some interesting ideas, I pick them out, and I go with it. So this was sort of my inspiration for that piece that I showed you that I had created. But if you're interested in doing, you know, cloth printing fabric, then a book like this would be a good guide. And this one's very good. It tells you the supplies you need. It gives you all kinds of tips and techniques and for different effects. Now, when I bought this book, it was listed at, I have no idea. Yeah, no price on it. But I looked her up, as I always do, on Amazon.ca, and it's $29.70 Canadian plus shipping. I don't know what the shipping is. So it's not a cheap book. But if you're serious about doing fabric, you know, creating your own fabric, then a book like this is an investment. Okay. Now, yes, you can go on YouTube and you can find tons of videos. But what I find about the videos on YouTube for things like this, you don't always get the real detail. Plus, you have to kind of sit there and sit through a 20-minute, 30-minute, an hour-long video. Whereas in this book, a book like this, you can go into the table of contents, find a technique that appeals to you, read all about it, and use this as your guide. So that's why books are not being readily replaced by something like YouTube when it comes to techniques and things like that. So any books that I do buy these days, I look at as an investment as part of a resource library for this kind of thing. So the link for this in the show notes below. Okay, so that takes us to the next couple of pages that I have done in my grimoire. And you can see my grimoire is getting kind of fat. So I think I mentioned last week that I was going to try something very radical. Well, it wasn't going to work, so I didn't do it. What was that idea? Well, I had this little box. It was a little wooden box that something came in. It was fairly shallow, and I thought I could take some of the pages out, put this in on the back cover page, and I could fill it with little things, and it would be kind of neat. The thing is that I'd have to take out quite a few pages. Now I have a few pages in here that haven't been done, but I didn't think it would sit in the book quite right. If I'd thought about that idea maybe earlier in the process of making this, I could have made it work. But anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and keep doing the pages each week. And my plan is, when I have finally finished the grimoire, all of those segments will be put together into one video. So the whole thing will be from start to finish, and you don't have to go back to the vlog. And also, I'm designing this in such a way that you may not be making a grimoire, but you might be doing a journal or a junk journal or something like that. And this will give you ideas that you can incorporate into your own artwork with the pages. So here's the next couple of pages, pages 15 and 16 of the grimoire.
So I finished the next 2 pages, and I did this very quickly. In this journal, although it's more of a decorative piece than anything, it's not really meant to be used, I decided to put in a couple of blank like cards so that whoever has this might be able to write in their own spells if they wish. So on this page, from a paper collection that I've been using throughout this grimoire, I just cut out some of their little cards, and they're blank on the back, as you can see, but they fit the rest of the papers that I have used in here. And just to give it a bit of a dimensional look and for something different, I just had one of these very decorative paper clips. I don't know where I got them. I think I got them at Walmart one time a long time ago, and I'm just using those to hold the cards in place. I did go around the outsides of the edges of the cards and everything on these 2 pages with some black StazOn ink as well. Now, before this, I was using Walnut Stain Distress, but I was getting a little tired of that and decided to go with something a little darker. And so I had StazOn was handy, so I used it. I put this little plastic key element in here as well, and I did age it a little bit. It was already in a copper tone, but it was a little bit on the shiny side, so I just gently dabbed some StazOn black ink on that as well. And I'm holding it down with a little bit of Gorilla Glue. On the other page, I added another metal embellishment, and this one's sort of interactive because the hands on this clock or dial will swing around. I think this is one of Tim Holtz's eclectic collection pieces. And again, from the same paper pack where everything else has come from, there was another little cutout piece that I darkened the edges on and glued on here just to, add a little bit of interest to the page. And then I decided this is one of the pages that has a pre-made tag spot for it. There's the pocket and the tag, which I'd made before. I added this copper wired ribbon to it. Again, it's sticking up outside of my album to give it that very full look. And I did some tags within tags. So again, this element here, I added to the bottom to create a pocket. And I stapled this with Tim Holtz's tiny stapler, or tiny attacher, I think is what he called, just again to give it a little bit of variety and also to pick up the metal elements that I have on the page. And this is sort of a set of tags within a tag. Again, plenty of room to write your own spells or whatever. But what I did with each one of these tags is, again, I had some of these decorative paper clips. Again, I'm not sure where I picked these up, but I picked them up somewhere some time ago. And I thought they were kind of cute. And I just happened to have 3 different ones, so a triangle, circle, and a square. I cut out some more of the tags from that paper pack. They're blank on the back. And I just put them in loose into this little pocket that I created here on the tag. And again, this adds some 3-dimensional elements to the book without giving it too much more bulk. And I purposely am pulling this tag up a little bit, not only so it hangs outside of the book, but also so you see the eyes, which gives it sort of a spooky appeal, I guess, or something, magical, whimsical, whatever you want to say to it. So those were the next couple of pages in the grimoire, and we'll carry on from there.
And we have a few more weeks to go on the grimoire as well, because there's still blank pages in there. So I need to come up with some more ideas, because I'm getting a little bored doing sort of the same thing week in and week out. So I may have to do a little research and get some inspiration for that for the next couple of pages. Okay, so events in the past week. Update on my mother. Well, I got a phone call Saturday, late afternoon, telling me that my mother had thrown up a couple of times. Not good. But they said she was fine. And they also said that they thought that they were getting some more fluids into her. And I think I've mentioned this before. My mother is like a camel. She does not drink a lot of fluids, of liquids, water, that kind of thing. And I can't really condemn her for that, although it's not good for her. I tend to be the same way. I call it the camel syndrome. I can go for long periods of time without any fluid in my system. And all those people that say that you should drink 8 gallons of water in a day or whatever it is, and all those people that carry water bottles around with them everywhere they're going, they're constantly sipping on it. Yeah, I tried that because everybody says it's good for you. I can't do it. I can't do it. So, I understand. But with my mother, she does have to have it, and they try to get it in her. Anyways, they said she was fine and whatnot. Now, my mother does suffer a little bit from depression. She has since my father passed away. She may have been suffering from it way before then. Not majorly. That's why we never noticed it. But they did put her on a drug. I'm not sure what the drug was, a very mild amount of it to help her out with that depression. But I've noticed the last little while when I get the reports on the drug she's taken in the last month, that the drug that they were giving her for that is no longer on there. So I think the doctor at the nursing home has taken her off that, and that's fine. But my mother still has moments. Well, we all have moments, don't we? Of a little bit of depression. I mean, I had one yesterday, okay, over my machine, okay? You may think that's silly, but things like that really bother me. And I'm trying not to get too depressed with it, and I'm trying to be optimistic and patient with that situation. But with my mother, this isolation thing, I think it's been hard on all of us. I haven't seen my mother in 2 months, but I talk to her several times a week. Okay, conversations are usually kind of short because there's not much to say. It used to be there wasn't much for her to say because same old there. But on my end of the conversation, it's pretty much that now as well. In fact, I just try to rattle on, kind of like what I'm doing right now. But anyways, I called her. So I called her. Well, I mentioned this to the person that had called me there. I said, I don't know if you're aware of. And she got out my mother's chart and said, oh, yes, I see that from the other. She says, well, I'll talk to somebody named Rachel. I think Rachel is the nurse practitioner who's is about as close to a doctor as you can get without being a doctor. And she's really the frontline type of worker when it comes to these kind of situations. So she'd mention it to her. And I also mentioned the fact that my mother does tend to be a little bit anorexic, if you can be a little bit anorexic. And that's something that she's had for years, which none of us realized until only recently. So I think that's tied into her depression as well. And when I say her depression, again, it's not, she doesn't have major bouts of this, but it's just enough, that contributes to, her mental well-being, or not contributes to it, takes away from her mental well-being. So anyways, I did call her yesterday and I said, so I heard you were sick. Well, yes. I said, you okay now? Oh yeah, I'm feeling fine. I said, so do you think you know why you were sick? No, I have no idea. It just was. So I get that answer a lot. So, she's fine now. Just go with it and go, well, okay, that's great. Glad you're okay, Mom. I mean, I think I finished the conversation. She said, okay, well, I'll call you during the week. And I said, and in the meantime, try not to throw up. Yeah. I'm not really good at the sympathetic kind of stuff. So anyways, oh yes, and I did get a call earlier in the week too, just telling me that the results had come back for my mother's COVID test, and she was negative, which was good. They've had one outbreak, but then they retested the guy that they had the outbreak with. They immediately had quarantined him and did everything that you needed to do to keep it from spreading in the home, which is a good thing. Well, they did another test on him. It came back negative. So now I guess they're keeping him quarantined for 2 weeks anyways, just as a precaution, which is good. But now it makes the whole question about these tests, is that a false negative? I've heard that they can, or false positive, I forget which way it goes, but whatever. How reliable are these tests? How reliable, with the number that are being done, the people that are conducting the tests, how reliable are they? I'm not criticizing them, but the workload's probably horrendous and they get tired and things could get missed. I don't know how you do these things. I'm not sure. I'm not in that profession. But anyways, everything, they've been keeping us up to date about the condition of the home in terms of the virus. And again, they have done an excellent job and everybody is safe and there haven't been any problems. They've tested everybody in the home and that was the only one that came back positive, and they immediately went into action on that. And as I said, now it's come back negative, so who knows. Also, this man didn't seem to be showing any signs of it either. So there's that whole asymptomatic thing we're hearing about. You know, you might have it, you're running around with it, but you don't show any signs of it. Is this ever going to be over? I don't know. Okay, let's move on. I already talked to you about my 15,000, my sewing machine. So on the lighter side of life, you know, we've been experimenting, and when I say we, I mean Walter, with cooking different things. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we saw a video on YouTube where a lady who is a professional cook, I guess, or seems to portray herself as such, an Irish lady, made crumpets. I like crumpets. Not something I often think of picking up in the grocery store, but I do like crumpets. And Walter likes crumpets. So Walter decided to try the recipe. The thing was, he had to get these rings. Because with crumpets, they are a form of bread, but you basically have to fry them. You know, kind of like you're making a pancake in a way. Because you have this batter, and you have to let the batters rest and do something, and then you pour it in these little rings that sit in your frying pan, and you cook them up. So on Sunday, he got his rings, and so on Sunday, he decided to make crumpets. But on Saturday night, he mixed up the batter. Well, she had said that you could put the batter in the fridge without any problem. So he did overnight. The next day, he got up and took the batter out, and the batter's supposed to be somewhat bubbly, and it was a little bubbly on the edges, but you know, not majorly bubbly. But anyways, he made up a batch of crumpets. Well, he says he might give it another try. But anyways, here's the little video of Walter's crumpets. So Walter's trying an experiment. A week or so ago, we saw a YouTube video where this lady showed you how to make crumpets. Now, she was an Irish lady. She's got a very popular cooking YouTube channel. And she seems to know what she's talking about. So Walter mixed up the batter last night and put it in the fridge. It's supposed to go bubbly, and it's sort of bubbly. And now he's got these special rings.
I should have stirred it.
Should have stirred it?
Yeah, because it's thick on the bottom.
Oh. Well, anyways, he's got these rings that he bought on Amazon that are meant for this kind of thing. And now he's putting them in the frying pan, and we're going to see whether or not we get crumpets out of this. I'll let you know. Okay, so we've got one that's sort of browned, and then you're supposed to flip them, Walter says. He's trying to get out. Did you spray your rings?
Yeah, I didn't. I oiled them. That was the suggestion. They probably should have sprayed them.
Probably. You never spray anything.
I oiled them.
Oh, well. Oil. What, 10W40? So they're kind of looking like little pancakey.
Well, it could also be because I didn't stir the batter, right?
Oh, maybe. They do stick. Actually, that side looks better.
Yeah, well, that's the top.
Oh. Yeah. We will see. So here's the final product. They don't really look like the crumpets I've seen before. We haven't tried them yet. They look more like a pancake.
Could be that because I put the stuff in the fridge. I don't know.
But she did that on her video.
No, she said you could do it.
Oh. Well, maybe. Anyways, we'll see what they taste like. It's an adventure. Okay, so here's the finished product. I just cut it in half. While just putting butter on his. I put a little jam.
I'm disappointed.
Okay, well, we'll see how they taste. Well, actually, they sort of got the texture of a crumpet. Don't quite look like a crumpet, but actually they taste like a crumpet. So,
Not a complete success, but not a complete fail either.
So maybe next time, just don't refrigerate them.
So he's going to give it another try at another time, and we'll see how they turned out. We ate them. They were okay. They weren't quite as crumpety as crumpets can be, I guess. But they do, for a first try. Try again, might make it better. Okay, what's coming up? Well, not a heck of a lot, but I do have a virtual Quilt executive meeting on Wednesday. We're trying out a new program for this. For whatever reason, I have no idea. I got nailed between the eyes because I was asked to send out an email to the entire membership. And I did. But I sent it from my personal email account, which is fine. I don't care if they know my personal email. That's fine. Everybody does. It doesn't bother me at all. Well, the reason I sent it out is because the official email that we use is Yahoo, and it sucks. We cannot send out, we have about 104, 105 members. We can't send through that system out one email to the general populace of our group. It has to be divided into about 4 different emails. So, well, they're all the same email, but it has to be sent out by this number of persons and then this number of persons, and etc. because they can't handle the whole list in one fell swoop. In my email account, I can. And, quite frankly, I wasn't going to spend days copying and pasting this message 4 times over. So I just sent it out for mine. Well, somebody took exception to that on the executive, as they always do with me, and make a mountain out of a molehill. Get off the pot. And they thought, no, because it's very confusing, because people would have seen my email. In the message that I was sending out, it was very clear that this was who it was actually from and what group it came from. Some people have nothing else to worry about in their life. So 3 of us from the executive tried this new webinar program that we're going to use for our executive meeting later this week, just to make sure it was running okay. And one of those persons was the president of our guild. And so I just brought it up to her and said, well, I had originally asked her if she'd put me on the agenda for the meeting because I wanted to talk about how we handle emails in the group. But we kind of handled it right then and there. And so there was a good point brought up. Okay, the point that she thought this other person was making was, when it comes up, an email comes into somebody's email box and it has my email address in it, they might not recognize it and think it's spam or something like that, or a piece of, a bad piece of malware or something like that, and, just delete it, not read it. Okay, I get that. But I said, but I'm not sending it out 4 times. I'm going to stick them to my ground. Okay? I'm sorry if these people are too stupid to be able to read down and figure it out. Like, come on. It was pretty obvious what it was. So no, I'm not doing that. Fire me. It's a volunteer position. I don't care. But we have, in the meantime, a brand new email provider, Gmail. And that's what we were going to start using in the fall, but we decided at this little mini meeting that we had that we would start using it now, because there's no reason not to start using it now. And I did a little test with it on the weekend. And yes, I can send out an email to every member of the guild in one fell swoop with that program. So that's what we will be doing. So I said, you might as well take me off the agenda now. I mean, I don't need to listen to or have them put another knife in my throat again. Okay? Again, and I had some comments about this. And the reason I get the knife in the throat, and I'm sorry, and I'm sorry that I'm sure this makes some of the viewers on here go defensive on me. It is because I'm a man. Okay? I know that sometimes women don't get reverse sexism, but there is such a thing. Okay? And I'm not getting into the whole discussion about that. Okay? But this is what I get, and I get it all the time and a lot. And I cannot even bring up that discussion with them and say it because they'll still nail me with it, because it will be my fault because I'm a man. And a man just, man. So, anyways, I almost went into a rant on that one. So anyways, I'm sure we had that problem solved. Now, move on. Okay. And that's all that's coming up in the next week. So, I'm hoping that when I talk to you again next week, that the problem with my sewing machine will have been handled, and I've done some more sewing, and my mother's good, and I'm not crazy, and we all have a good week. So stay safe, stay healthy, stay in, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.